Welcome, everyone. Normally, our weekly webinar is just for clients, but once a month during the pandemic, we're opening it up to the public, and tonight is one of those nights. So welcome, guests. Tonight, we're going to be talking about extreme house buying. And we use the Financial Fitness book by Brady and Woodward and in our coaching. And Principle 40 in that book states, if you buy a home, follow the 2X rule. For example, if your income is $50,000 a year, do not buy a home that costs more than $100,000. If you want a bigger home, earn more money. Now, owning a home is been declared the American dream at one point. It was like they try to get everyone to go and get a home. It's wonderful. You own something, you build up equity. A lot of people like it. However, be careful. In the Financial Fitness book, it also has buying a home as the number 2 danger zone after taxes. That doesn't mean that not to buy a home. It just means when you do buy a home, be careful. Purchasing a home will lock you into situations that can be really detrimental and can make bad financial situations, an unexpected change in your income or circumstances can turn something bad into something really catastrophic. So we want you to be careful when you're buying a home. And so a lot of tonight, the extreme measures are how to make sure that it won't impact your ability to build a strong financial foundation that you can build the life you've always wanted on top of that. And we don't want to shackle your financial future so you can have your dream home now. We want to make sure that you get a home when it's the right time so that you can build your financial future and have the dream that have the home that you really want for the long term. One of the principles that in this is cash flow is king. Being able to have cash on a regular basis coming in your life that you have available to use for various things is important. And locking it up in debt is definitely something that hinders your ability to have cash flow. I want you really to enjoy life. It's not about the money, it's about life, about being the person who you were meant to be. And if you're spending all your time working for the money to pay debt, it really drains. And then worrying about, can I make the mortgage payment? Those things really drain you. So we want you really to enjoy life is what this is about. You do have the ability to build equity in homes, but at the same time, you don't have to buy a home. And we'll get in that in a minute. But so the American dream to buy a home, yes, it's a great idea to own a home outright. But there's several caveats and things to think about. And so I put together 9 rules for extreme home buying. And basically these are extreme in that most people won't do these because it's not what they want. They want that perfect home right now. What we're setting up for with these 9 rules is having the home now that sets you up for having the home of your dreams for the rest of your life. So let's get into the 9 rules for extreme home buying. Number 1, is it the right time to buy now? I can't answer that, but here are some questions you might ask yourself. Where are we in the national home buying cycle? Home buying does happen in cycles. There's times when it's really good to buy homes, sometimes when homes are overpriced, sometimes when they're discounted steeply. For instance, if you bought a home in 2007 in Michigan and then lost your job in Michigan in 2008 when everything went down, then you might be in some serious trouble in that you bought at a high and then you tried to sell and didn't have much equity in your home, and maybe you had to move out of your house and you actually had to pay. I've been in this situation. I had a house where I had to pay at closing. I had to pay $10,000 to sell the house because I was underwater. I had less value in the house than the money that I was going to get for it. You don't want to be in that situation. So make sure look at the national home cycles. Is it a high point in the cycle or are things discounted? And then you also have to take into account your local market. This was interesting. I was talking about Michigan and how, 2007 versus 2008, but shortly after that, the Austin area, Austin, Texas, around there, it didn't have quite, it dipped a little bit, But it came back roaring as all the people moved in from California, Michigan, Arizona, Florida, New York, people coming in from those other areas, creating huge demand for homes. And we didn't really see quite the same dip in the market as you'd see in other places. And there are several places around the country that are like that. I'm just using Austin as an example, but so be aware of your local market and what it's like. It may be that, nationally it's doing something slightly different than what you're doing, depending on what the local economy is doing. And then also, is it the right time? These are, talking about external to you circumstances. Now let's talk about your circumstances. Are you debt free? We're going to add a huge debt by putting a mortgage on there. Are you debt free outside of that mortgage? Are you ready to take that on? Having debt and then putting a mortgage on top of that is just more drag on your cash flow. So we want to make sure you're pay off all your debts first, and then start looking at adding this huge debt to your life. Do you have an emergency fund? One thing with renting is when something breaks or wires out, or you have problems with it, leaky faucet, whatever, you call the landlord. Landlord takes care of it. That doesn't happen in a home. So have an emergency fund. Have several months of expenses in the bank that you can pull from in an emergency. And when you're renting and you have to leave, you don't lose all that value. Whereas you could lose a lot if you're in a home. You lose your primary income, becomes in jeopardy, and you could lose quite a bit. So just finding a cheaper place to rent is different than having to go through a foreclosure and then trying to find a place to rent. So have an emergency fund. Do you have that? Several months of expenses in the bank. And lastly, are you investing in you? Are you taking money from your paycheck and using it to make yourself more valuable society? Are you on the upswing of being more valuable to your employer, to your clients, to society in general? You need to be growing yourself and making yourself more valuable, so that we're going to start out with your mortgage where it's at, but we want to be able to increase your income so that you can pay more and more and get rid of that debt as soon as possible. So are you investing in you? So are you debt free? Do you have your emergency fund? And are you investing in you? Another thing to think about is, how long will you be able to be in that home? If you're just in the area temporarily, like 3-6 years, maybe now's not the right time to buy a home. If you're going to have to move in a few years, let me show you why. So here's a chart of mortgage payments. And if you look, each column represents a mortgage payment. Mortgage payment's the same amount every month, but the yellow represents how much you're paying in interest, and the green represents how much goes towards how much you're paying down on your mortgage. So you look, the first column here, very little bit actually goes and pays off the mortgage. Most of that money is paid to the bank in profit. And same thing in the next year, a little bit more towards the mortgage being paid off, but a lot of money going to profit to the bank. And the red line there is how much of the mortgage overall is paid off. You see how down towards the end of the 30-year note, it goes down where it's paid off completely. So as you're looking at this, the average person moves every 7 years. Now here's the interesting thing. This is 7 years. You look at that, you maybe have enough equity to cover the expenses of selling your home. That's, you don't really gain anything. So you went through and you had all the time of, repairs and upkeep of your home. You had all the extra expenses of adding things to your home and repairs and all that. So time, money, and you're not really better off than you would have been renting, because all that value and equity you were getting was basically lost when you sell the home and the cost of selling the home. So you want to be somewhere where you can be there long enough that, if you're going to do a 30-year note and you're going to pay on it like a 30-year loan, then you're going to lose value. It's not going to be any better than renting. So you want to be in there long enough that you can get, number one, appreciation. The longer you're in it, the more likely you are to have the home increase in value. Of course, that's not for sure thing. For instance, again, Michigan, I don't think they've recovered from all that. But the more likely you will to appreciate. And then also you have more of the mortgage paid off. So you have more value, not just from the appreciation, but also from the mortgage being paid down. So is it the right time? Number one. Number two, have at least 20% down payment. In other words, take what you have for your down payment, multiply it by 5, and that's the amount, that's the cost of the home that you should start looking for. Now, the nice thing about that is as you're looking, you're also adding more money to this fund, which means bigger and bigger down payment, bigger and bigger home that you can afford, or you can pay down, have a less of a mortgage, either way. But have 20% down payment. One thing is it eliminates private mortgage insurance. Now, private mortgage insurance basically says if you don't have at least 20% equity in your home, then the banks get really nervous that you could ditch, the market could crash, and they'd be stuck with a home that they can't sell for enough to cover the mortgage that they loaned you. Well, so the insurance basically covers them. It does nothing for you. So if you have 20% down, it protects them from losing money. That doesn't do anything for you. So you're going to pay extra if you don't have 20% down. You should have more than 20% down, but have 20% at least down so you don't have private mortgage insurance, but not just for that, but also so that you're invested in the home. You've sold your labor, your value to society. You've sold yourself for this money, and now the more of it that you've had to invest and put in, the more value you're going to see in your home. And also, if you want a bigger, better home, you say, you know what, that's not enough. Well, then save up more money. And that 20% then can be, the more 20% you get, the bigger home you can get. Again, multiply it by 5, what you have for down payment, and that's the kind of home you're looking at at the high end. All right, and that leads into number 3. Have a mortgage of no more than twice your annual income. Okay, this ensures you'll be able to pay it off. I mean, they'll loan you up to 3 times your annual income. That's 50% more than what we're recommending. But with 2x, twice your income, you're much more likely to be able to pay it off. That extra 50% makes a huge difference. Take your annual income, and again, this is if you want a bigger home because it's the mortgage, you just, all right, instead of doing 20%, we'll do 25%, or save up for a bigger down payment, and that's how much beyond your double your income, annual income. So let's say you make $50,000, and that means you can buy $100,000. You can have $100,000 mortgage. If you have $40,000, you can have a $140,000 home with $100,000 mortgage because twice your 50. So again, these are our guidelines to help make sure that you can pay off your house as quickly as possible, remove that, and increase your cash flow as quickly as possible. Now, this doesn't mean this is going to be the home for the rest of your life. This can be something that you then leverage into the next home, which would be even better. Now, for a lot of people, especially we're coaching you and walking you through adding more value and becoming more valuable to your company, your clients, and you're increasing your income, we want you to look at your last 2 to 3 years of income and average that instead of what your last year of income was. Because if it's going up, what we want to do is take the average, and then as you go in, as you start increasing your income every year, you'll be able to use that increase to pay down the mortgage faster. And so we don't want to take the latest number and say, okay, latest number, we're going to go up from there. Gives you a bit of margin in case your income does go down, but it also allows you to have more money to pay down the mortgage. All right, this leads to pay it off in 3 years. 3 years? Are you kidding me? Yes, I'm not kidding you. Yes, pay it off in 3 years. Here's the thing. Most mortgages, the quickest you can pay them off without penalty is 3 years. They have to have the loan long enough that they make enough profit off it to justify all the work they did to get the loan in the first place. There's all paperwork and legal and title search and all that stuff. To make it all worth it, they have to have at least 3 years of interest payments on that. So most mortgages, check with the mortgage when you get it, see what the shortest time you can pay it off in. Typically it's about 3 years, but pay it off in 3 years. Which means you need to look at, all right, what kind of payments can I make so that I can pay it off in 3 years? Take into account the interest, and you can run calculations. There are all sorts of calculators on the web. But what could you do to pay it off in 3 years? Now, I understand 3 years is a bit extreme. Then do 6 years or 10 years at the most. 15 is kind of on the outskirts. A lot of people are like, oh, 15, that's, don't do 30, do 15. That's bad. I think 15 is like, that's out there. You want to do it as fast as possible. Think about it. If you bought a home and your mortgage payment is a quarter of your income and you pay it off in 3 years, that means for 3 years, a quarter of your income goes to the house. And then after that, you get a 25% raise when your house is paid off. That's what we're looking for. Huge cash flow. Cash flow is king. We want to pay it off as soon as possible. If you don't believe 3 years, look at 6, 10, maybe 15. But the idea is pay it off quickly. The longer you do, the more interest you're paying, the more it's going to drag your finances down, the longer you're going to have this drag on your cash flow. Get it done quickly so you can get it out of the way, and you can have the cash flow to maybe you're going to then start rolling it, start saving up for the down payment for the next house. But the idea is get that taken care of quickly. And this next one is a little, get a 30-year mortgage. Wait a second. You just said pay it off in 15 years or less, and yet you're telling us to get a 30-year mortgage? Yes, but the interest rate is lower on a 15-year. It is. But you know what? If you pay it off in 3 years, the difference in how much that interest rate is going to cost you is negligible because you're not going to pay that much interest. That's the whole point. The reason why you get a 30-year loan is because in case something happens to your primary source of income, you don't want to have to also leave your house. You want to have that home protected and be able to not have foreclosure on you. You know, number one, you say you lose your job and then you lose your house, and not good circumstances. Okay. And then when you lose your job, lose your house, now you have horrible credit and you have no job, really hard to qualify for just about anything at that point. So if you get a 30-year mortgage and you're paying on it like a 3-year loan or 6 or 10 or 15, then you'll pay it off sooner. The interest rate won't matter as much. Of course, the closer you get to 15, the more it matters, but not that much. But you always have that safety valve of saying, you know what, if things happen, I can drop my payments down to a 30-year note payment, which then gives me some breathing room and I can make it longer. My emergency fund will last longer. And it really just gives you that safety cushion. So you can, if things go horribly wrong, you can drop that back down and you'll be able to survive longer. All right, number 5, they call it PITI, or principal, interest, property taxes, and homeowners insurance. Those are the 4 things that are typically put into a mortgage payment. So the principal and interest, that's just the mortgage payment itself. And you got property taxes that oftentimes they'll bundle it into the payment, so you don't have to worry about that. And then the homeowners insurance, they'll bundle that in there too. You can break it out and pay it separately. But however you do it, those 4 things, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, you should really shoot for no more than 25% of your income. Again, cash flow is king. If your payments are going to be more than 25% of your income, it really starts eating into your cash flow. Now you can go up to 35%, but for me that I consider that redlining it. It's like, all right, yeah, I'll go up to 35%, but that's really going to eat into your cash flow. And remember, you want your cash flow so that you can be investing in yourself, building up your reserves. You don't want, emergency happens, you can, you're able to take care of things. So you want your payment to really be 25%, maybe up to 35%, but be really careful about it. In fact, if you really want to go extreme, your principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and utilities at 25%. You could like have a huge down payment. And so it's like, all right, I'm going to pay 50% down on this house. It's an awesome house. It's huge. I'm meeting all the other criteria. And you look at it, utilities are going to be ginormous because it's a huge house. Well, you have the cash to pay for it, but do you have the cash flow to pay for the utilities? That's something else to think about. So if you really want to be extreme, add utilities to that, make sure that's at 25%, and then that's a huge safe margin there. Number 6, buy in the right season. There are seasons like everything else. When's one in the financial fitness book, they often, there's questions you ask before you purchase. And one of the questions is this the right time to buy it? Is there a better season to buy it? You can look up online for just about anything. I just bought some running shoes. And I said, the best time to buy shoes is about right now. And so you can look up when is the best time. And so I went and looked up when is the best time to buy homes. Now I'd already kind of had a general feel for this, but this gives me actual data. So this is from Trulia. Basically, if you look at the red line here, and it's pretty close. In January, prices are a little lower. And March, prices are a little higher. It stays a little bit higher until about August, and then go down to average. And then, October, November, December, the prices start dropping a little bit. And so you can get a bit of a discount buying when it's off season. The other thing I like to look at here is searches. This is people, they're looking for a home. And look, searching starts in March and it kind of ends in August. And after August, people are going back to school, all that kind of stuff. And so the searches really drop off. And you look, there's a huge drop off after October. In fact, I usually like to tell people Halloween to Christmas is the best time to buy a home because no one else is looking. They're all busy with the holidays. They've got Halloween, they've got Thanksgiving, they got Christmas, they got all the holidays and family, and no one's thinking, so for the people who are selling homes, there's not many people looking and they don't have many choices. And you don't have this, you don't put an offer on a home and then they got backup offers. And so you have no negotiation. You can't negotiate the price down anymore. It's really, you lose some of your leverage when there's a lot of people looking for homes. But when there's no one looking for homes, then you have the upper hand in those cases. So you look for the right season. Now you can start looking at homes, and we recommend you start looking at homes, March and all the way March through August, looking at homes, just so you have an idea. And we'll talk about that next. But the next one, number 7, buy on the low end. Okay. Find once you have, all right, here's the price of home that I want to do. And you look where, okay, that is the very low end of the neighborhood. Find the neighborhoods where that is the low end of the neighborhood. And you're looking for that. Here's why. Smaller homes appreciate faster. So the upper end homes in that neighborhood, they'll appreciate a lot slower. They won't gain as much value as the median homes or the low end homes. And the lower end homes will be kind of brought up by the rest to gain more value over time. In fact, often not often, many times the upper end homes in the neighborhood may actually go backwards while the other homes are moving forward in value. So look for by the low end of the neighborhood. Look for the neighborhoods with what you're going to get is at the low end, and then start looking for deals to get it even lower than that. Don't buy the first home that you look at. Okay. Get a feel for what a deal looks like. Start looking at homes. This is what I said, start looking in March and start looking at homes. What is a deal? What is a sweet deal? What do you like? What are you looking for in a home? After you look at, several homes, you start to get an idea of, I like that, I don't like that. You start making a list of these are the things we're actually looking for and keep updating that list. And you can also have homes to compare against. It's like we could refer to them by the street names. And so it's like, the Gossamer home, that one had this that I liked, but there were these things I didn't like, or the Glen Fallick home had this, but didn't have these. And you can go through and talk about, have homes to compare against. So you have something to, when you say, okay, now that is a deal. It's got what I want and it's the right price. So look at 5 to 10 homes before you even start getting serious. That way you have an idea of, all right, here are the things that we're looking for and here's what a good deal looks like. Not only that, but while you're looking at these homes, you're also adding more to your down payment, which means you have a wider range of homes you can look at, and you're paying off. Your debt should already be paid off, but you're basically getting more and more cash together so that you can have more options when you're looking. And so when that sweet deal comes along, you're ready to jump on it. But 5 to 10 homes so that and if you're doing it during the main season, March to August, and you're not as tempted because it's going to be discount season in a little bit. So we're just looking to get a feel for what's out there. And lastly, number 9, get a professional to help you. All right. Well, unless if your purpose in life is to help people find homes, if you're a realtor and that's your purpose in life, then great. You don't need professional help. You are a professional. This is part of your purpose, your calling. Absolutely. Don't worry about getting a professional. But if that's not the case, get a professional, get a realtor to help you do this. Now, don't just get a realtor who will, set up the email and automatically, here's the criteria I want, and it'll automatically email you, and he does nothing else, opens the door for you, lets you walk around. You want a realtor that will educate you, that will teach you, here are the things to look for. Here's the things you want to consider. So you want to make sure your realtor is going to be educating you through the process as you go, not just someone who you just, here's my order, find me something, but they'll actually educate you through the process. And this person is also someone to add to your network. Develop a relationship with them. Of the 3 realtors I've used to buy and sell real estate, I continue to stay in touch with two of them. Now, one of them, unfortunately, he passed away from cancer. So really hard to stay in touch with him. But the other two still have a relationship with them, still keep in touch with them. So develop a relationship with your realtor and add them to your network. We talk in other times about, you want to increase your network and the diversity of your network. A realtor is a great asset. You can add value to their business and they can add value to yours in the future. So develop those relationships, networking. All right, so quick rundown of the 9 rules for extreme home buying. Number 1, is it the right time? Should you be buying a home, or is it better to rent right now? Do you have 20%, at least 20% for down payment? You want the mortgage to be no more than twice your annual income. Pay it off in 3 years or maybe 6, 10, 15 at the most. You want to pay it off quickly. Make sure that your payments aren't going to be more than 25% of your income. You want cash flow coming in. Buy in the right season. Buy the low end of the neighborhood, so you'll be the smaller home, so it'll appreciate more and get more value. Especially this, you want to use this home, pay it off, and then start saving up for the next home. That's perfect, because then while you're saving up for the next home, you'll get higher appreciation, which you can roll into the next house. Don't buy the first home you see. Be patient. Take your time. A quick story on that. When my wife was pregnant with our first set of twins, we were a little bit rushed. My wife was nesting. We were really wanting to get into a home, and we rushed it. And we had gone to a home that was perfect home. It was wonderful. It was for sale by owner. We got a sweet deal, and they were asking a bit much. We said, we can do this much. This is how much we have the cash to do. They said, no, we can't come down that low. And right after we settled for a home, they called us and said, we're going to take your deal. And we're like, oh, we just bought. We would have had a sweet deal on an awesome home. We were too rushed. If we just would have taken our time, waited a little bit longer, we would have had an awesome home and had a much sweeter deal. So take your time. Don't buy the first home. Be patient. Make sure you set things up so you can be patient. And lastly, get a professional to help you with this. They're really going to be valuable. They will save you more money than you think you can. I've seen people where they try and go out and do all this on their own, and a professional can make a huge difference in this. They have access to all sorts of resources, and the experience and knowledge and wisdom that they have will be well worth the effort. So make sure you get a professional to help you with that.